While Ghibli has always been praised for its incredible female characters, Disney has historically done a pretty bad job writing females, with Wish being the most notable recent example. But what exactly does it take to write a great female character? And what has Disney been doing wrong that Ghibli has been doing right? Let's talk about it. In my opinion, what makes a great character in general also makes a great female character, but there are extra dimensions to take into account when writing women. So what are the main factors? Stick around till the end where I'll talk about what I think is most important when writing a great female character, but for now, let's talk about character development. Quick aside though, the irony of a guy making this video is not lost on me, but I made sure to do as much research as possible, also asking the women in my life as well their thoughts on the topic. So a lot of the things that I learned are included throughout the video. There are few things more rewarding than seeing your favorite character go through growth and change throughout a movie, but it needs to be done right. Miyazaki's a master at this, ensuring character development is subtle and layered. At the beginning of Spirited Away, for example, Chihiro is an ordinary, whiny child who is afraid of everything. But as the story unfolds, she grows emotionally and matures a ton, showing resilience and courage that I'm honestly jealous of. Her journey feels natural and relatable because we clearly see her dealing and facing her fears while evolving through her experiences. There's a reason she won our Ghibli character tournament. She doesn't start as a hero, she becomes one through personal growth. And I could say this for a lot of the female characters throughout Ghibli. We see San go from completely despising humans to eventually warming up to the idea that not all of them are so bad, and developing compassion for them as a whole. We see Sophie also grow from a shy girl full of insecurities to someone brimming with confidence at the end. On the other hand though, Disney characters like Asha from Wish often lack this gradual evolution. Asha begins as a character defined by her optimism and remains largely unchanged throughout the narrative. While optimism is not a flaw in and of itself, it creates less room for meaningful growth. Disney's recent tendency to start with empowered female characters often means there's little space for them to develop complexity or vulnerability as the story goes on. Compare this to Elsa from Frozen though, who does experience a form of character growth 100%, but even Elsa's arc feels more formulaic. Her internal conflict, fear of her powers, resolves in a somewhat superficial manner by the film's end, and while her strength is emphasized, her vulnerability is more of a plot device than a deeply explored trait. Relatability is also another factor that helps us connect with characters and feel like they could actually exist. This is another reason Ghibli's female characters feel more real. Their insane relatability. Sophie is the epitome of this. Everything about her was meant to be forgettable. Plain appearance, dry personality, strict work ethic, but it was these traits that made her refreshing and therefore remarkable. She isn't a great leader, she isn't incredibly charismatic or outrageously gorgeous at all. She's just an ordinary girl, which is why so many people resonate with her character. Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service is another great example.
My name's Kiki, and I'm a witch.
She's a young witch learning to navigate independence and self-doubt. Her struggles with burnout and self-worth are universal themes that resonate with all of us. Kiki's journey is not about saving the world or finding love, but about finding her place in the world, which is why her story feels so personal and grounded, and also why she's clearly the most relatable Ghibli character. Oh, and special mention to the Dust Balls in Spirited Away. Disney also has some pretty relatable female characters, don't get me wrong. Tiana, for example, is just a girl that comes from a small, poor community and has big dreams of starting her own restaurant. She never gets gifted it though, she works hard, even working multiple jobs, to one day be able to afford to buy her own place and start this restaurant. That's most people in life. Turning into a frog aside though.
What did you do to me? I'm green and I'm slimy.
That brings us to one of the biggest aspects of how women are portrayed in media, and especially in anime. The hyper-sexualization, or in anime terms, fan service. In anime, fan service basically has come to mean eye candy for either male or female viewers. But the problem is there's way more for the male audience, and it's become a staple in the anime industry that a lot of women are hyper-sexualized in most anime. That's why Ghibli's portrayal of female characters is even more special. because they're going against the grain. Ghibli's approach to female characters is the absence of hypersexualization. Characters like San from Princess Mononoke and Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle are dressed in practical clothing, and their roles in the story are never defined by physical appearance at all. They embody strength in ways that are unique to their personalities and circumstances, proving that female characters don't need to be sexualized to be compelling. This is the case for most Ghibli female characters, which is awesome, honestly. Disney, on the other hand, has come a pretty long way from its earlier depictions of female characters like Jasmine or Ariel, who were often defined by their appearance or romantic interests. However, traces of this trend still remain, with a lingering emphasis on external beauty and princess-like qualities. While Disney's recent films have tried to break away from these tropes, Ghibli has consistently treated its female characters as fully realized people who are defined by their inner lives, not their looks or relationships. Not only that, an issue that a lot of stories and movies run into is stripping a girl of all of her femininity just because she needs to be strong. In my eyes, that makes no sense. A girl can be strong, powerful, independent, but also be vulnerable, sensitive, and feminine at the same time. Neither one detracts from the other, and it happens too often in this woke era of representing girls in Disney. I had a conversation with my sister specifically about this. In her eyes, being super independent, strong, but lacking depth is also negative, just as the other end of the spectrum is bad. Complexity is more what we need with these characters. She went on to say that the trend that we see in Disney recently of new princesses or female characters not needing men is kind of shit. In plenty of male-led action films, the guy can be strong, independent, save the world, and still get the girl at the end. But for female characters, it seems like they're mutually exclusive. Like, why can't she be strong, an incredible heroine, and also find love? Why does it have to be one or the other? That's super infuriating. And now we're seeing that in Disney with multiple female-led stories, and even actresses are leaning into that, like Rachel Ziegler. Disney characters can't have love because that means they're falling into bad tropes of being a damsel in distress or whatever, which I don't think is a bad thing inherently. What you have to do is just add complexity for that to not be their only personality trait. That is what Ghibli does so damn well, whereby there's complexity of character, there's growth, but there's still touches of love and friendship. Ghibli characters can have both things, which makes them real, because that's just life. They can find love, which is separate from their own story and growth and development, which brings us to what I think is the most important part for a well-written female character. In my eyes, a well-written character, female or not, thrives on depth and complexity. Ghibli consistently showcases women who are multi-dimensional. Nausicaa, for example, is not only a strong warrior, but also deeply empathetic, environmentally conscious, and a pacifist. Her strengths and flaws are intertwined, creating a well-rounded, relatable figure. She's a leader, but her compassion for nature and people is what drives her heroism. This balance between strength and emotional depth is rarely found in Disney heroines, who often exhibit strength at the expense of vulnerability, or the other way around. Take Ariel from The Little Mermaid as another Disney example. While Ariel's curiosity and rebellious nature are endearing, her character arc is driven primarily by external desire, such as wanting to be with Prince Eric. She's more reactive than proactive, with much of her narrative centered on obtaining a romantic goal. While Ariel is certainly beloved, by me included, her journey feels limited compared to Ghibli heroines, whose personal ambitions and emotional arcs are more intricately woven into the broader narrative. Asha is another more recent example of a horrendously written character, in my opinion. But to be honest, that could just be because the whole movie's badly written, but she has no real depth to her, making her completely one-dimensional as a person. We learn nearly nothing about her background and who she really is, which Disney tries to make up with adorkableness. I actually had to go through 5 pages of top Letterboxd comments for the movie before finding any mention of Asha, which just tells you how forgettable of a character she is. One of the many reasons Ghibli's female characters feel more real is because they consistently pass the Bechdel test. Characters like Chihiro and San are often involved in broader narratives, discussing personal growth, nature, or community. This focus on diverse interactions helps them feel multi-dimensional, unlike many Disney characters who traditionally fall into romantic subplots, which isn't bad in and of itself, but rather if that's the only part that character plays. If a female is only ever talking about a guy, that's a problem. In fact, out of 57 Disney animated movies, 30 of them, 30, fail the Bechdel test, which is pretty insane. On the other end of the spectrum though, some of Disney's female characters have incredible depth and complexity. Mulan is a great example. She completely disregarded Chinese law to save her injured father, dressing up as a man to fight in the war against the Huns, something that would have gotten her killed if they had found out. But she's not just this courageous heroine. She shows a lot of vulnerability and insecurity at the beginning of the movie, and then later displays her courage, discipline, drive, and fear while she goes on to basically save China. All while also crushing on General Shang and eventually getting her happy ending with him. That's badass as hell. Now you might be asking, well, does it really matter? I love a lot of the characters that you've trashed on throughout the video, and I would agree with you. I love Ariel and a lot of female Disney characters that maybe weren't the best written and fall into a lot of these romantic subplots. I think we enjoy a lot of these characters though in spite of them being poorly written. And it's a shame because they could have been so much more elevated, in my opinion. It's true that Disney has made strides in writing more complex female characters, but it often falls short of the emotional depth and character growth found in Ghibli's films. Ghibli characters like Chihiro, Nausicaa, and Kiki are multidimensional, growing through their flaws, struggles, and triumphs, while Disney heroines sometimes feel pretty constrained by formulaic storytelling. If Disney really wants to create female leads that feel as real and resonant as Ghibli's, it should focus less on external empowerment and more on internal complexity, vulnerability, and growth. By allowing its characters to evolve naturally, face real-world dilemmas, and express authentic emotions, Disney could craft heroines who are not only strong, but also deeply human. Pass the Bechdel test.